Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm just going to do a really quick video over accounting basics and what it means to be in public accounting. I have some specific videos coming up soon talking more specifically about my experience in the accounting industry, and I just wanted to make sure that I kind of covered the basics with some of y'all who maybe don't know what accounting is. I know some people who are just getting into college or are just graduating high school, you may not even know what that means. So I'm just going to try my best to cover the basics of what accounting is. So you as a consumer, obviously, you go to the store, you see a pretty handbag that you like, and you buy that. Accounting is basically how that company keeps track of these kinds of business transactions. So one of them being a sale of their product. When you're at the cash register, you give the person your credit card or cash to pay for this purchase. And so all of those transactions are recorded in, the accounting system. So usually it's some kind of electronic system, and you're basically just keeping record of those transactions. There are a lot of other types of transactions, more behind the scenes kinds of things that happen. Things like the company has to produce this handbag. There are certain costs that go into making this handbag. So, for example, the materials to make it, so the leather and the metal chain are all costs that the company has to keep track of. Also things like the labor that went into to create this particular handbag. It's basically the recording and keeping up of those business transactions. So you have in each company, normally there is a department that does this, your general ledger, which is the accounting system where all of your transactions, financial transactions, are being recorded and kept. All of that record keeping and accumulating of data, that ends up culminating in each month a company producing financial statements. And so I'll find some generic ones and input them somewhere in this video so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But I'm just going to hit the highlight of two of the financial statements. So the first one is your balance sheet. And what the balance sheet does is basically it shows all of your assets, your liabilities, and equity. And in accounting, there's a certain equation. So your assets have to equal your liabilities plus your equity. Assets are basically transactions or things that will produce economic benefits for you in the future. Those are things like, obviously, your cash that you receive from the sales, machinery that are used to produce these handbags, other things like your inventory, the number of handbags that you have on hand, because you should be able to sell that handbag, which will produce cash in the future. And all of these things are able to help you out economically in the future. So your liabilities are things that you are obligated and owe to others. So for example, you're starting your handbag business, and in order to even just purchase the machinery to make it or to purchase the supplies that you need in order to make that handbag, you had to go to a bank and get a loan for some money. So that is a liability. That's something that you are obligated to pay back to the bank. And then the last piece on the balance sheet is equity. So your equity is the funds that have been provided by owners. So let's say the handbag company went to Shark Tank, and in order to get money rather than getting debt from a bank, which would be a liability, they went and got some people to buy into their business. So let's say Mark Cuban bought into your handbag company. He would own a portion of your company, whatever percentage it is that he purchased during your Shark Tank episode. So it's the funds he contributed to your business. Also, an equity is where your profits and losses end up showing up, which it flows through from your income statement. And your retained earnings, which is your cumulative losses and profits throughout however many years you've been in business. Your balance sheet retains all of the activity from inception of your business. So all the ins and outs that occur in your business is shown on your balance sheet. Okay, so that's your balance sheet. I hope that makes sense. Moving on to the income statement. The income statement is just your profits, losses, which is made up of revenues and expenses and is for a year period. The balance sheet is cumulative and continues on year after year, continuing to roll forward those balances. And your income statement is only for that specific year's activity. So on your income statement is, first of all, your revenues. So that is the amount of sales that you've had throughout your year. So however many handbags you sold at whatever price you are selling them at, that is your revenues. Expenses are the money that you spent to generate that revenue. So for example, it's the cost of the leather that you purchased that year for those handbags. If you went out and you did some marketing, you had to spend some money on that through, I guess, social media or going to trade shows, that sort of thing, that would be an expense. So there you have your revenue and your expenses. So if you had like $500 in revenue, $400 in expenses, your net profit would be $100. On the flip side, if you had $400 in revenue and $500 in expenses, you would have a net loss of $100, meaning that you're not making any money in your business. So those are the two basic financial statements that you really take a look at. There are other financial statements, but I'm not going to get into that because for the purposes of this video, that's all I wanted to talk about. All of your transactions that are going through your general ledger system, they end up showing up on your financial statements. On the flip side, what I do for a living is I do public accounting, and that basically means that I go and I audit those financial statements that we talked about of each company. What I'm doing is basically ensuring that the $500 in revenue that's on your income statement is actually $500 and it's not like $200. So every single accounting firm has their own manual and policies on how to go about making selections. It could be 10 selections or 20 selections. It just depends on each firm. And so basically, let's say that $500 of revenue was made up of like 1,000 different sales. So 1,000 purses were sold. So out of that 1,000 number of sales, we go in and we randomly pick 20 sales from the year, and we go and we make sure that we get, the bank statement that shows the money coming in from that sale, the invoice or the receipt or something like that, just to make sure that that actually was legitimate, that was a real sale, and it wasn't just someone putting in the number just to make their business look better. So we do that for every single item shown on their financial statements that is a material number, so meaning that it actually would affect, an investor's decision-making process if that number was wrong. So that doesn't mean that we look at every single number. We look at numbers that are big enough and mean enough to us. And each firm has their own kind of policies on how to calculate what is material. And so let's say for my firm, I've calculated it and it's $100 would be material to us. So anything on the balance sheet or on the income statement that is greater than $100 or for some reason think is more risky, like sales was only $70, but we would expect it to be more, we could go in and just, using our own professional judgment, we would end up testing revenue. I go in and I ensure that what is in the accounting system and what is shown on the financial statements is true and correct and complete. So I'm basically just double checking what the accounting department has put out as their information. There is math involved. You have to know whether to add or subtract things, how to calculate things, but a lot of those things are adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. It's nothing crazy like calculus or anything like that. Oh, and another thing, when I talk about industry, that is meaning you're actually working in the accounting department of a company. So that would be you are in the accounting department of the handbag company. Public accounting is me, the external auditor who comes in and looks at that accounting department's financial statements and general ledger systems, accounting systems. So I hope that kind of clears up what accounting means and what auditing means. I am not a teacher, so I really hope that made some kind of sense. I'm giving you the absolute bare bones info on what accounting and auditing is. My explanation is by far not comprehensive. There is so much more to accounting than what I have talked to y'all about, so much more just even basic accounting than what I've talked about, but for the purposes of what I'm trying to communicate to y'all for future videos, that's the info that I felt y'all needed to know. I hope this video was helpful. I know I've gotten some comments on like, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't know what accounting means, so I hope that this kind of clears it up. I have some videos coming up specifically about accounting careers, so I hope this made a little bit of sense. If y'all have any specific questions you want me to cover in any of my upcoming videos, my next one that I'm going to be talking about specifically is about public accounting and my views on the Big Four versus a mid-tier firm. So if you have any specific questions on that topic, please leave them below because I will definitely make sure to address them. Or any questions that you have on your career, just leave them below and I will be sure to cover them in upcoming videos. Yeah, oh, and in case you didn't see my last vlog, obviously my braces are off. And obviously I got a haircut, and I got promoted to manager. Some good things happening on my side personally, so thank y'all so much for coming along on this journey with me and for trusting me with some of your career questions and advice and that kind of stuff. I really love doing this. I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Types of... I'm having such a hard time right now. Your back... blah, 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 blah.